And welcome in, everyone. I hope you are all having a nice weekend. And yeah, different timing for those watching internationally today, since we had time zone change. So we are now on daylight saving time in Germany as well. It is about time that they get rid of that change, so... So, how is everyone doing? So, I hope that we have a bit less issues with the stream today. I am trying different OBS settings. Oh, yeah, I see that the picture is pretty choppy, actually. Okay. That's no good. So let me see if I can change that on the fly. Nope, I can't. I can at least change the preset. Let's see if that works. So, let's hope that this improves. Okay. Let's see how that is doing. Because I was seeing a lot of choppiness on the streams in the past few days, and Twitch is also reporting unstable connection. So, and my OBS was showing spikes into the, I don't know, sometimes in double the bandwidth, and that's not how it should be. So let's see if that is improving now. Yeah. So, but then looks like still that the video is choppy. Okay, I can't do anything about that for the stream then, and I will test other settings next time. Because this is all looking pretty good settings wise. Okay, nevertheless. Oh, Now it's changing to perfect in Twitch. Okay, let's see. If you guys have feedback for me for the stream quality, let me know. I hope that perhaps it's also just my browser not showing the image correctly. I don't know. Let me actually check how it is on YouTube. Perhaps it's my Twitch preview that's not working right. Let's see. Okay, yeah, that's definitely the video. The video is choppy, but the audio seems to be good. So we should be fine. Oh, I have to do a short intermission. Sorry, guys. Sorry for that. Unplanned interruptions. So, okay, yeah, video is really choppy. Too bad. It was an experiment and it did not work out, so then I have to check with the other codecs for encoding the next time. Okay, nevertheless, welcome in again. Sorry for the delay, everyone. But we have some exciting topics for today, so let me not waste your time any longer, and let's get into some topics for today. So, where are we? Screen share. So, here we have the show notes. So, if you want to get to those yourself, here is a link in chat. That's always pointing to the last show notes that I posted. And yeah, so we have this week, there was a preliminary agreement in the EU Parliament on the EU Digital Markets Act, which will have a huge impact on the whole basically IT industry, and from mobile phones till to desktops even. So we will talk about that. Then there have been new hacks by the Lapsus hacking group, and they seem to be basically figured out. So security researchers caught them. And also due to internal issues in the group, it seems like that they got outed. And then there is an update on the Mac Studio and new controversies in regards to the SSD storage. So that whole story with Apple and its SSDs continues. So a follow-up to some discussions we had in the past. And then there is the news that VR is gaining popularity. There have been quite a few jumps according to Steam statistics. We'll have a look at that. Then there is an announcement from Intel this week that they are basically introducing new ATX standards. So I think ATX 3.0, or how was it called again? We have the show notes here. ATX 3.0 and also the second version of the ATX 12 VO standard. We are going to get into that also later. And also we'll be discussing the first examples on why those changes for the ATX standard are necessary. And so the next up is then some new rumors in regards to AMD's upcoming GPUs. And if those are true, yeah, the gap between AMD and Intel and NVIDIA in regards to efficiency will be widening quite a lot more. So, yeah, that's a quick overview on the topics. So, we are already 15 minutes in. So I would say we get started with the recording. Audio seemed to be fine, which is most important for also for the podcast. And so we get going. Let me stop the music. And switch scenes. Where was it? There we go. And let's give our now obligatory countdown.
Three, two, one.
And welcome to my technology podcast. This is episode 15, recorded on March 27th, 2022, live on Twitch and YouTube. So if you want to join the discussions during the live session, feel free to hop in. And yeah, welcome everyone. And we have a few interesting topics today for you. And a lot of follow-ups actually to discussions that we had in earlier episodes of the podcast. And yeah, I would say let's jump in right away. So, on screen for those watching the vidcast version or are currently watching live, here we have our show notes for today. If you want to get those when you're listening to this on audio format, head over to my blog, BNOnet.com, and there you will get the full show notes, and they should also be listed in the episode description, or if you're watching on YouTube or Odyssey, they are listed down below. So you can get to all the links I will be discussing here today quickly and easily. So, yeah, topics for today are the EU Parliament has come to a preliminary agreement on the EU Digital Markets Act. Then there are updates on the Lapsus hacking group and the hacks at Microsoft and another company that's name just escaped me. And yeah, those hackers got found out and are currently under investigation. So there already have been arrests made. And yeah, the next topic is another controversy in regards to the SSDs of the Mac Studio. So more news on Apple SSD issues. Then the next thing is an update on VR usage or on Steam. So as the headline here says, it's gaining traction. So yeah, good news for everyone like me and a lot of you guys who are interested in VR. Then we have the news that Intel just released a new ATX standard, so ATX 3.0, and we'll go into why that standard is actually necessary. Next up is also a rumor on AMD's new GPUs that should be released end this year or early next year, depending on how everything goes. And that ties nicely back to the previous Intel topic, because as part of that we will also discuss some NVIDIA news. So let's yeah, by the way, one quick personal update. Last week I did a stream showing off the Pimax Sword controllers, and yeah, technically not everything worked out as I wanted to work out, and therefore I decided to do an edit and re-upload it to YouTube. And if you head to my YouTube channel, you will be able to get to this video. For those watching on screen, watching the video version, you can see the video right now. It's also compressed from over 3 hours to just over 1 hour 10. So a bit more concise, and yeah, I basically shorten descriptions and so on, and cuts out scenes that are not very well watchable in the original version. Nevertheless, let's get to the first topic, which is the European Reaches provisional agreements on the antitrust law targeting tech giants. So this is something that has been long in the making in the EU. And this article here is from Engadget, and for those listening. And yeah, this law, if it comes to pass, will regulate basically the interoperability of platforms in our modern digital economy. So Apple and Google would be forced to allow additional app stores on their on their platforms. They would be forced to allow other payment methods than their own in apps. And another big thing, that's why also the WhatsApp logo is here on the article, is there is a proposal to also put in regulation that instant messengers should be interoperable. So if you are using WhatsApp, and let's say I am not using WhatsApp for whatever reasons, so I'm just using Threema or Telegram or Signal or even iMessage, which is prime example because it's the most closed off messaging system. Then if we are not on the same messenger, we cannot communicate with each other. And with this law, this base interoperability, so that you can at least send a text message from, let's say, Threema to WhatsApp, and from WhatsApp to Signal, and from Signal to Telegram, or from Telegram to iMessage. That is what they intend to force the industry to provide. And overall, this is a good thing that is happening here. A lot of people are saying, this is now regulating again. But the problem is platforms controlled by big companies are not open. And as we have seen in the past few years, more and more control over our devices is taken over by those companies. Apple always was very close with their systems and had the tight control over it, especially for the, I just call it iDevices, so iPhone, iPad, iPod, Apple TV, Apple Watch. So that's the closest they have control on. And in the recent years, also Mac, but there they had to backpedal simply because it's a desktop, and people don't want to treat their desktop like they treat their iPhone, and I think that's also one of the big things why Apple is not intermingling iPad OS and Mac OS. So yeah, and if this comes to pass, it will benefit us all, because even if you're not using another service, like for example on Android, then the Amazon App Marketplace, which already exists, or others, even if you're not doing that, by just having the opportunity and forcing those manufacturers to provide these abilities, you are basically forcing those companies to compete on an open market, which overall benefits us consumers. And so there is also a parallel law in the making that regulates a lot more than this, and we have to see and wait if it passes. A lot of information are still unclear, and I am looking forward to what is coming out of this legislation. As you can read here in the article, of course, Apple is not very happy about that. Where is the statement? I'll try to highlight it. In the statement, an Apple spokesman said the company was concerned about some aspects of the law. We remain concerned that some provisions of the DMA will create unnecessary privacy and security vulnerabilities for our users, while others will prohibit us from charging for intellectual property in which we invest a great deal. The spokesperson said, "We believe deeply in competition and in creating thriving competitive markets around the world, and we will continue to work with stakeholders throughout Europe in that hopes of mitigating these vulnerabilities." And this is a lame excuse, Apple, definitely. Of course, you can maximize profits by controlling your market, which is what they are doing. And I discussed this in earlier episodes as well, that I am fine with them regulating access to mobile devices like the iPhone, because this is a product which is a everyday use item, and that you carry with yourself, and you are in a position where you have to use this device for emergency calls. And if you install software which prohibits you from doing that emergency call, that could cost lives. That's not the case with an iPad. That's not the case with a Mac, and so on and so forth. Yeah. So what the legislation here has to do is a real hard balancing act, because in some ways Apple is right, some ways they are not. But overall, opening the platform to different markets, to different other stores, is a good thing. But those platform providers have to be able to provide guidelines to those other stores. That's something that is important. Because if everyone just starts doing whatever they want on those devices, especially on your phones, that's getting dangerous. And it might not be immediately obvious, but it's a phone. That's its primary use case. And if you can't make an emergency call because you installed App Store XYZ and it installs crap on your device that you A, don't want, and B, that breaks core functionality of your device, that's just bad, and that should not happen. So there has to be a bit or a measure of control still remaining by the platform provider to ensure that stuff like that does not happen. Yeah, and other talks were, for example, also on exactly those things, that you have to be able to remove bundled software and basically all the standard stuff that we have to deal with modern devices, because they are those companies are selling pre-installed software to other companies in order to basically make extra profits from their device sales. Yeah, but that's this topic, and we will definitely have to follow this and see how this is going to develop. Now let's go to the... Let me actually close these tabs here so it gets a bit easier to handle. Let's get to the Lapsus story. So last week, apparently Microsoft and Okta is also a single sign-on provider, got apparently hacked by the Lapsus group. And so their impact, according to those companies, was not that large. I heard media sources say that the impact might have been bigger than they are letting on. But but the good news is that due to the very high activity of that group in the past few weeks, they actually got found out by security researchers, and they were tracked back to England. Apparently the Lapsus group consists of English young men in the age group of 16 to 21. And the articles on that I'm showing right now are also on Engadget. Those are linked in the show notes for details. So if you want to get those, head over to my blog, bnonet.com, and you will get the latest show notes, and you can read all the articles. And this security researcher endeavor led actually to arrests by the London police, and apparently the suspects have already been released, but the head of the group seems to be a 16-year-old who already is basically, due to all the ransom that they collected, a Bitcoin millionaire. So nothing Latin America. As I said in last episodes, calling themselves Lapsus and being from Latin America that did not smell right. I was a bit curious about that name, and now, yeah, it's a bit obvious that this connection was basically false, so nothing to do with South America. And yeah, it will be now interesting to see how the situation is handled and if the charges to these teenagers persist, or if there is going to be other developments on that story. But if a few teenagers can do that, I don't want to know what actually state actors are doing behind the scenes without large corporations knowing. Tying back to the whole Russia-China situation right now. It's yeah, it's interesting to see how vulnerable actually the big corporations are, and yeah, a story that we definitely will be following in future episodes. Next up is the findings by various YouTubers and also iFixit. I have here the article on Mac Rumors open for the tear down of the Mac Studio by iFixit, which were finding that there are 2 SSD slots in the device, and basically on some models only 1 slot is populated, and they try to swap the SSDs. And as you can read here, I highlight the paragraph and I will read it shortly. Time to find out if this modular storage is actually upgradable. After a lot of testing, some of it interrupted by Apple's server issues, we actually have some definitive answers. Quick interjection from my side. Apple officially states that the Mac Studio is not user upgradable. I continue the quote here. We popped this stick into another base model Mac Studio's empty slot, but configurator kept giving us DFU restore errors. No matter the configuration, we haven't gotten 2 base model drives to boot in a single machine. However, when we swapped the spare Studio's drive for the one in the teardown unit and used configurator to do a DFU restore, it worked. Storage swaps are possible, at least between 2 drives of the same size, but jury's still out on upgrades. And yeah, there is no upgradability because, as was found out, somehow the storage configuration is configured in the Mac Studio in the M1 chip directly, and yeah, that for me, when they've discovered that, was not that surprising. The storage in the M1 Max, M1 Ultra, Mac Studio is a bit different to what we saw previously from Apple, since A, it's not soldered on the logic board, and B, it's actually not SSDs, but these are basically just NAND flash modules. So they are dumb. There is no logic unit on there. And overall, the behavior, when you go back in history, is not that surprising, because we had a similar controversy back in the day with the 2019 Mac Pro. as you can read here. This is now a story from 9to5Mac back in the day, also from the iFixit teardown. And I read here, as for the two built-in SSDs, iFixit found it is removable, but as the T2, which is Apple's coprocessor that was used in the past year's Intel Macs and is still used in the Mac Pro, is the T2 is integrated, it won't be user replaceable. We are happy to see a modular SSD, but not happy knowing it's bound to the T2 chip, meaning user replacements are a no-go. So that's the same with the Mac Studio. And in light of what we discussed in earlier episodes in regards to Apple's SSD issues, this is really sad to see, because you cannot replace these SSDs with units that might perform better, because they are specific Apple storage modules. And I don't let it count that there are no alternatives in SSD format in regular NVMe SSD format, because for example, I think Kioxia has small NVMe 4.0 drives who would basically take up more or less the same footprint as the ones that Apple is using in the Mac Studio, and they would be completely user serviceable and user upgradable. And this is a missed opportunity for Apple. And the trend with the modularity and the high praise that Apple got for the 2019 Mac Pro is not holding up in 2022, sadly. And we can only hope that Apple changes from their own volition, as it was originally shown last year when they released their statement in regards to offering replacement parts. But yeah, it's sad to see that the situation is still worse, and we have to see and hope that they will either change themselves, which I really think is unlikely, or as with the example from the EU Digital Markets Act that we discussed at the beginning, Apple is going to be forced through regulations to do something different about their the design of their devices. Taking, for example, the 14-inch MacBook Pro that I am, for example, using to record this live stream and podcast. This machine is completely fixed. It's not upgradable. Of course, the memory, the RAM is part of the SoC, which in my opinion is fine because it's giving you a performance and bandwidth advantage. But the storage having to be soldered is, not that nice, especially with the constraints that the current SSDs from Apple have. I actually can see this reported flushing behavior that we discussed in the previous podcast during day-to-day usage of my machine. When I am editing one of these podcast episodes, which is in the end, when I also created all the segments, one podcast episode has fully edited with all the segments and so on. in Final Cut has about 100 gigabytes, and I am offloading those edited episodes always to my NAS, so it doesn't take up so much space on my machine. But what is happening is I see the free capacity of the drive, and when I delete the footage after editing it, I am actually seeing that nothing changes. Despite having cleared my trash bin, the storage still shows that I have not deleted anything. And if I want to have it refresh right away, I have to reboot. That forces the system to actually flush the caches. And if you don't reboot, it will do it at some point when it does its automatic maintenance cycle. But that's not good behavior of a system. And this, especially when you don't have a laptop which has its own battery. We were talking about a desktop like the Mac Studio. This is bad if you have a abrupt power outage, because you can potentially lose a lot of latest changes if your machine is not properly turned off. And this is really, really bad for data integrity. And a normal user who is not handling large files, large footage, will never realize that. I realized it because I deleted over a few hundred gigabytes from my internal SSD. But if I would not do those video projects here, I would not have realized that. And this is combined with this strategy with the SSD policy overall. That's something Apple has to work on. Nevertheless, let's get to the next topic, which is good news for everyone who is invested in VR. This article here is on Road to VR, and it's about Valve releasing the new VR users and on Stream Crew by I can't read today. I am sorry, everyone. So, new VR users on Steam grew up by 11% in 2021, and unique play sessions were up 22% as well. And if you go down, I think there were graphs in this one. Yeah. So you can see here monthly connected headsets on Steam. And you can really see during 2020 and 2021, VR skyrocketed. Which is not surprising. I think I am myself somewhere around the February till October 2020 or February till June spike here, this initial spike, which was caused during the first lockdowns of 2020. And then we have here the time mid 2021. It's also another spike, and of course the Christmas season, so the holiday season of 2021 as well, where we had quite a spike again with new users. Yeah, So, and this is actually good news. And probably this is also thanks to the Oculus Rift, Oculus Quest. As you can see here, the headset survey, 67.2% on Steam VR are Oculus headsets or Meta headsets, as you have to say nowadays. So you have HTC headsets, so that's like the old those are the Vive headsets. Then you have the Index and with 14%. Windows Mixed Reality is still also a minute minority, and yeah, the group I'm belonging to is the other group because I'm running a Pimax myself. So yeah, definitely interesting to see that everything is growing, and it's not surprising that the Meta / Oculus group is the largest, because there is no easier and cheaper way to get into VR than the Quest 2. So let's hope that the traction continues and we're going to see a lot more nice and flushed out games for the for VR. I'm looking forward to Hubris still, which is, I think, the next major VR title for this. And then, yeah, I hope there will be coming plenty of others. So next up, we have the whole update in regards to the ATX 3.0 standard and the associated ATX 12VO 2.0 standard, which both introduce the 12V HPWR 600 watt power connector for graphics cards. So this single connector replaces 3 standard PCI Express 8-pin connectors like we have them at the moment. And you saw the predecessor to that on the NVIDIA RTX 3000 Founders Edition cards of 3070 and up, I think. And the new connector actually looks a bit different. So this is, I think, the old one that they are showing here on the left. Let's see, because the RTX 4000 series from NVIDIA is rumored to requiring that connector. Let me see if it's showing here somewhere. Nope. I will come back to that article. So these articles here are all from videocards.com. And if you want to get to those, you can head over to my blog. Here we have it. Here you can see the new connector. So the connector, how it was on the NVIDIA 30s cards, was basically a more broader 12-pin connector instead of an 8-pin PCI Express connector. And the new standard, which is already showing on this card here, adds 4 additional data pins. And the when we go back to the article for the standard, the new standard is basically I think here it's described. A new 12 VH power connector will power most, if not all, future PCI Express 5.0 desktop add-in cards, e.g. graphics cards. This new connector provides up to 600 watts directly to any PCIe 5.0 add-in or graphics card. It also includes sideband signals that will allow the power supply to communicate the power limit it can provide to any PCI Express 5.0 graphics card. And that's the additional 4 pins that you see on the connector here on that card, which is not present on the one that Video Cards is showing here on that article, which is the one that NVIDIA provided. So this is additional communication lanes so that, let's say you put in a RTX 4090 into a PC with a, let's say, 650 watt power supply, and yeah, the power supply then can tell the graphics card, hey man, I can only provide you, let's say, 400 watts. You cannot draw your theoretical possible 600 something. And that will be very, very relevant. That will be really very relevant when we come to the RTX 4000 series, since those cards are rumored to draw upwards of 600 watts. So when you count the new 12-pin connector and the 75 watts, though graphics cards are able to draw in general from the PCI Express slot directly, you come up to 675 watts of theoretical maximum available power for a graphics card. And it's a bit nuts that we are already at that point with a new power standard now being released in 2022 and graphics cards being released in 2022 that are basically already maxing out that standard. That's a bit insane. And this article that I have up right now is basically talking about also that it looks like that the announced 3090 Ti from NVIDIA is basically a test run for the architecture for the 4000 series. And it appears that as it is labeled here, that the AD102, which is the upcoming 4000 series, appears to be pin compatible with the GA102. So that's the way how they can test it. And those rumors have been a bit confirmed when this leak for the RTX 3090 from MSI, the Supreme X, were leaked. So it's a really, really big graphics card. It actually features a 3.5 slot cooler design, which is just insane. When you see this here, this is just nuts. And this card, as a current generation PCI Express 4.0 card, is slated to draw 480 watts. Oops, sorry guys. 480 watts. The reference spec for the 3090 Ti is 450. So basically, this graphic card draws more power than basically most computers that are used worldwide, if on a when you compare them on an individual basis, not all combined, of course, but a few years ago, a 500 watt power supply was everything you needed to power a gaming PC. Here we are talking at least 850, if not 1,000 watts as minimum when you pair this with a Alder Lake CPU, which can draw upwards to 300 watts itself. And you want to have some headroom with your power supply to remain in the efficient part of the curve. So that's just insane. So basically your computer potentially really drawing with stock components that you installed, not tweaking them yourself, drawing north of 700 watts. That's crazy. That's absolutely crazy. And on the other side of the equation, now comes a rumor regarding AMD about their 7000 series. AMD has shown that the new architecture that they are using for mobile CPUs is already doing great without efficiency cores, and the new core design for the RX 7000 GPUs looks to be a banger. This article here is from Digital Trends, and I read you this paragraph here. Today, a known leaker has teased that even entry-level AMD RX 7000 GPUs may be capable of outperforming the current gen flagship, the RX 6900 XT. As a carry on top, new AMD graphics cards could be a lot less power hungry than the upcoming NVIDIA GeForce RTX 4000 GPUs. And they continue by quoting this tweet by Greymon55, which is that particular leaker, who writes, compared to FP32 alone, Navi 33 is the theoretically possibly Navi 33 is theoretically possible to be higher than the 6900 XT, which can reach 22.9 T at 2.8 gigahertz. For power consumption, 220 to 650 watts is what I think is ideal. Think your smiley face. That's a completely different direction. And than what NVIDIA is doing right now. And let me quickly check this article here. Greymon bases the rumor of FP32 testing, which describes how many calculations the chip can perform per second. According to the leaker, the RX 6900 XT can be hit 22.9 teraflops when clocked at 2.8 gigahertz. This implies the card would have to be overclocked to reach such frequencies, as the regular boost clock for the GPU is 2.25 gigahertz. Greymon implies that the Navi 33 GPU should be capable of hitting higher teraflops counts, or at least a similar level if proven true. This would mean that a high-end GPU from the previous generation would become outclassed by a mid-range offering from the current generation when the RX 7000 series launches. So if that is true, the next AMD launch could be really, really interesting. Especially when you look on the tighter integration which is coming, potentially also with the whole FPGA story that we discussed last week. So there are surprises in the works by AMD, which we can look forward to, I would say. And that was the last story for today. So I hope that these discussion topics were interesting to you all. If you have feedback, leave a comment on one of the distribution platforms, on YouTube, Odyssey, the syndication that I do on Rumble as well. Feel free to place a comment there. If you want to comment directly, head over to my blog, bnonet.com, or if you want to chat and communicate with me, head over to Twitter. My Twitter handle is at @bnoffer. It is shown also. Oh, it's shown there. There you also have all the information for those listening on audio format. Those information you can find on my blog, bnonet.com. And yeah. Thank you very much, everyone, for watching and listening. And we are going to close the episode. The next one will air on the... let me see. Will air on April 10th. So, see you next time on the next... TechCast recording. If you have topic suggestions for an episode, or if you have questions in general where you want to get more details, hit me up on my social channels and we will go through those in an episode. And yeah, I am always looking for contributions and questions, so feel free to write in. And yeah, thanks again, and see you next time. So, that was this week's episode. I hope you guys enjoyed all the content, the topics, a lot of follow-up topics, and yeah, if you have questions, topics that you want to discuss during the end Q&A session, like I normally do it, then feel free to jump in with questions, and we will discuss those. If not, we'll be closing today's session so I can get into editing the whole thing for the audio release tonight at 8:30 p.m. CEDT. I really have to remember to say the different time zone now. Yeah. And yeah, we had someone getting timed out. Yeah. So just so that you know, I have actually set the different phrases that were commonly used for spamming. I put on timeout, so that's why this auto timeout happened. So if you want to still properly participate in chat, 2xxferxx2, but from the name I presume this was a spam bot or something. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you can reach out via my social channels that are shown on the left of the screen. And yeah, If there are no further questions, I am calling it for today. Let me actually check if we have someone we could potentially raid. Not really today. Yeah, and I have to fix the stream settings. This is really untenable how it is right now. So yeah, we will try that tomorrow during the Star Citizen stream. Let's see how that is going then. Yeah, stream schedule. Let me actually get this up. Because I just today updated the stream schedule on my website. Here we go. So yeah, we are on the Sunday today, so we had the TechCast Live. So next week there is no TechCast Live, because this is bi-weekly. Next stream will be tomorrow, 8 p.m. CEDT, and we are going to check out Star Citizen. Tomorrow will be interesting because we will, the first time, be actually flying a multi-crew ship. So we will be able to walk around the ship, do stuff in the ship, and we will probably be doing cargo missions the first time. So it will be cargo delivery missions. So it will be interesting to see. And Tuesday, 5 p.m. CEDT will be the next Beat Saber session, and same for Friday, 5 p.m. CEDT. If there are short time changes, you can always check my schedule here on Twitch, which is mostly the most up-to-date. And yeah, now I'm hearing myself here on stream. So yeah, and as you can see, we are here in the window for today's stream. And for next week, the schedule matches exactly what I just showed you on my website. So switch. Yeah, so that's it for today. So no questions. Then again, thank you very much for watching, everyone. No raids today, also on Twitch. So looking forward to next episode and the upcoming streams. Have a nice rest of the weekend, and see you on the 10th of April for the next live recording of my technology podcast. Bye, everyone.